if you, like a normal ass person, are walking down the street and you see like a butterfly with like a gun come by, right? Like you are...
You're like, oh no, something has changed and I don't like it.
Something has gone so wrong. Welcome to Inchworm,
the podcast in which we're inching through Worm. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Ted.
We read Infestation 11.3, the chapter in which Taylor becomes a super effective supervillain.
Yes. This chapter is so good.
It's really fun.
I took way too many notes in this chapter. It's just me highlighting passages being so like, love out. This. Ha ha ha. Go Skitter. Yeah, over and over again. Yeah. Just Skitter in her lair, motionless, with a mug of tea, using her swarm to take out gangs of merchants.
I think you were saying something earlier today about, like, this is Worm. And I do feel like this image, like you said, Taylor just motionless in the middle of her territory, taking out the gangs, their swarms, like, at a distance. Like, this does feel like there's something quintessential about her power.
Yeah, it's up there with... her, using the spiders in her basement in chapter 2 in terms of just iconic Skitter things. And the chapter, it's not just these amazing beatdowns. The whole middle section with Sierra has lots of juicy Skitter identity and moral quandary stuff that we can get into. But anyway, before I go on to talk at great length about how awesome this chapter is, I should summarize what happens in it for you and for our listeners.
I guess for them.
That's how we meet Skitter in her chair, drinking tea.
Yes.
She's sweeping her attention over her territory. Her power's not quite good enough to cover the whole area she's claimed from her base, so she's craving a little power boost like she gets sometimes. And she is, in fact, leaving bugs on all of the members of her territory to, get to know them. And in doing so, identifies 2 new groups entering her territory, one a little bigger than the other, but both armed. And she figures these are merchants. The first group of merchants shoots off a gun, starts trying to get into buildings. Some of the buildings have her people inside them. And she decides to act, not just to defeat the merchants, but to defeat them in such an effective and undeniably powerful way that they will not return, to sort of create word of mouth that people should stay away from Skitter's territory. And she's like, I remember Bakuda explained that that's what she was doing. But don't worry, this is different. This is different. Mm-hmm. Bakuda was selfish and I'm not. I'm protecting my people. And she uses her swarm figures to take out one of the merchants in the smaller group. And then her swarm figures surround the others and just kind of stand there waiting, letting the tension build until the remaining merchants realize that they are trapped, and a couple of them try to escape, and every time they make a move, merchants just get dogpiled, taken down by a swarm, fall on the ground, screaming, being bitten. And Taylor decides when there's one left out of this group of 8 still standing, that she'll let him think he can escape. And it's not until he runs down a side alley that she cuts him off and has 2 of her swarm figures growing bigger and bigger as they approach him, just kind of like corner him in the alley until he screams, charges into one of the swarms and collapses, screaming even further. Then, with one group down, she finishes her tea, notes the bitter taste, and moves her attention to the second group. Then we get a bit of a flashback to the end of the last chapter, where we find Skitter immediately accepting this girl's offer to help find and rescue her brother. Skitter dismisses the coil guys and decides to go on a walk with this girl, Sierra, and kind of get the backstory. So Sierra's deal is basically, stuff was going okay until Leviathan came. Our house was destroyed. We had to move into this friend's basement, and I tried to work unfortunately, my family started getting sick. And it wasn't until my uncle died suddenly of pneumonia that we realized, but by that time it was too late. The rest of her family, her parents and her brother, were also getting sick. They were all dealing with toxic mold exposure from the conditions in this basement. And because she's been working, Sierra surmises that she was not exposed as much, and that's why she's the healthiest one in her family. And she moves her family to a room in a church, but then the merchants attack the church. And even though she tries to fight back, she's driven off, has to leave her brother behind. And when she gets back, her brother is not there. He's the only one missing. He's been taken by the merchants. And some of the nice people who offered to help her family move into the church have been just injured, will be dealing with these injuries for the rest of their life. And Taylor throughout this is like just kind of nodding and going, uh-huh, and sort of getting frustrated that Sierra's rambling and not getting to the point. Maybe frustrated is even too strong of a word, but just kind of trying to make sense of what all this has to do with her brother. And, Sierra probably just needs somebody to talk to. And part of the reason why Sierra is going into this much detail is to make it clear about how awful the merchants who attacked the church were. And she ends up saying to Skitter, look, I think of myself as a pacifist. I, always give people the benefit of the doubt. But part of why I'm telling you this is because I want you to hurt these merchants. Whatever they deserve, double it, triple it. Taylor sort of doesn't know how to respond and just says, okay, trust me, I have that handled. We learn some more details that Skitter's going to be able to use to track down these merchants in particular, what they looked like. Sierra's brother is named Bryce. We learn that the merchants have gotten into the habit of wearing like colored wristbands that seem to be some sort of gang marking, but, of unknown meaning. Skitter realizes that Sierra doesn't have anywhere to stay and might think of more useful information later. So she says, you're going to come with me. This isn't negotiable. She can tell that Sierra is struggling with accepting the offer. So she just says, this isn't negotiable. Drags her into the storm drain and into her lair. Then says, hey, I'm going to make tea. You want something? And Sierra's like, this is kind of domestic for a villain. And Skitter kind of bristles, is like, I'm normal. But, then kind of says like, look, you're in my territory. I'm gonna protect you. You can rest here. There's a bed. You can lie down. And then Skitter goes and makes a really detailed like tray of tea with cookies and optional sugar and milk. Brings it back to Sierra, but Sierra has conked out, fallen asleep. Then Taylor goes upstairs, and we sort of chronologically go back to the beginning of the chapter. In our reading, we jump back to where we left Taylor, but time has advanced a little bit. We catch up with Skitter as she has made a lot of progress dealing with the second group. We saw earlier that one of the merchants in the second group had a can of gas and matches, and we pick up here with the gas can spilled out over the ground and over the feet of one of the merchants. And Taylor successfully lights a match with her bugs and then passes out lit matches to her swarm like tiki torches and has them descend on the merchant who's been splashed with gasoline, eventually lighting her on fire. She had been abandoned by the rest of her party, but once she goes up in flames, they start to help her. They throw her into, some of the water in the flooded streets, and the match-wielding bugs is enough to really get this larger group of merchants to scatter. Taylor lets them run, but she makes her humanoid-shaped swarms and takes them out one by one, eventually creating sort of a especially large swarm to drop down on the woman who'd been partially burned and her friend, kind of putting an end to the second group of merchants in a particularly impressive and terrifying way. She then texts Coyle to say, hey, there's a burn victim merchant here, maybe send a medic. no use having her die from complications or anything. Then she calls Lisa, and we hear a little bit about how Lisa's day has been. Lisa has not really made a move to take over her territory. Instead, she's been gathering intel and helping Gru find the merchants that are hiding in his territory. Taylor explains what she's done. Lisa's like, I think you're a little further along than everyone else. And Taylor's like, that's great. I want to be in Coyle's good books. Then Taylor says, well, the reason I called is I need you to help me find someone. And she explains Sierra's ask. Lisa fills us in that the merchants' armbands are like Boy Scout badges more than signifying rank. And she doesn't really know what that means, but, you know, the merchants apparently host all these events and you can kind of earn your stripes by participating. They don't really know what the deal is with that, but Lisa says, look, there's a merchant event tonight, so why don't we go? I want the information. Maybe we can get a lead on this boy you're looking for. I should mention, Taylor thinks to ask, how long's he been missing for? It's been 48 hours, which is long enough that police would not be optimistic about finding a missing person, but, you know, that's kind of the state of play. Not so recent that Taylor felt like she had to drop everything and go chase him down right away. Taylor's resistant to leave her territory. Lisa offers, look, the merchants have this event. They're not going to attack. We haven't seen anything from the Chosen. And if you need someone to look after your territory, Gru or Imp can babysit. The chapter ends with her saying, look, let's go see what a merchant party is all about.
Yeah. Oh man, Taylor is just so effective in this chapter and I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like competence porn is like an underrated genre. It's just so wonderful to read. Your main characters being awesome in ways that are just really clever that you wouldn't have quite anticipated.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just does an amazing job.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the things that really makes anti-heroes tick is like someone like Don Draper is just he's an awful person. He treats people that he knows and other characters that you like terribly, but he's so good at his job. At least like when you're presented to him early on in the show that you're kind of like, oh man, what what move is he gonna pull next? And I think that's one example, but I think a lot of characters that you might dislike for other reasons can get away with a lot if they're just incredibly good at what they do.
Yes. Yeah, because we want to watch people be good at what they do. And Taylor, it's so funny. Like, she was thinking last chapter, she's like, I don't know if this is going to work. I've never tried anything like this. And this chapter, at the beginning, she's also nervous. She's like, I can't quite sense the edges of my territory. She feels a little insecure about that. Then when these two gangs of merchants show up, she just destroys them.
Yeah.
And she does what she sets out to do, which is destroy them in a way that, we haven't seen this yet, but I would guess is going to be a little bit of a deterrent.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, let's just go to a different territory. Yeah. Let's not go to the one where we get attacked by humanoid bug creatures that sting us with like a million stingers and then try to light us on fire with their tiny match brigades.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's incredible. I feel like I do give Taylor a hard time for her love of ultraviolence in the podcast so far. But I am getting off my soapbox in this chapter to cheer because everything about this I loved. I don't know if it's because the merchants are just like all kind of anonymous here.
Yeah.
Or just because it's so cool that how can I possibly complain? But I truly loved everything about it.
Yeah. This has come up before, but it's very Ender in Ender's Game. This no, I don't just need to win this fight. I need to win this fight so thoroughly that there won't be any more fights.
Yeah.
I don't think she takes it quite as inadvertently far as Ender does. I don't know that anyone gets killed. We don't really find out what happens to all the merchants who got stung by a million bugs. Presumably they all crawled away.
Right. Well, and that's what she's trying to do.
Right. She's trying to scare them. She's not trying to kill them.
Yeah. If nobody lives to spread the rumors,
no, that
then
wouldn't
there's no
be as
point.
effective. Yeah. Although I think probably these rumors are going to spread. I'm sure someone witnessed this. People are looking out through the cracks in their windows.
Oh, yeah.
Whew.
And I think part of it is, right, so she's not there. And she's never not in control of the situation.
Yeah, she's not in any danger
right.
at all.
There are no stakes. It's just, it's like when she lets the guy run into the alley, like, I was like, oh, it's like a cat playing with a mouse.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yeah, there's no suspense, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah. No, it's just, mwah, I loved it. There's some really nice, just like writing bits. One is, it's so funny, like, a merchant pushes a guy into a swarm to try and get by, and ineffectively. And then when she gets chased down, Taylor mentions the specific insects, which I feel like is a great reminder, because at this point we have gotten so used to the abstraction of the swarm and her ability to create these like swarm people that she uses, right? But then we get into the nitty gritty here of, she got 2 more steps before the wasps, black flies, mosquitoes, and hornets caught up to her. Ooh, and then she ends
nasty
up,
bugs.
throws herself off balance and falls to the ground. The spiders, ants, centipedes, millipedes, beetles, and all of the other crawling parts of the swarm rolled over her, burying her beneath their mass before she could stand.
Oh my gosh.
Just like getting back to the specific bugs is such a good reminder of how awful it is. And like, I'm just like imagining it like more concretely now. So good. And
I love also what we've learned, that like the city is really a breeding ground for bugs right now.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, is she going to run out of good bugs? I was like, no.
Yeah. And this is, right, so the arc name, Infestation, right? Part of the meaning is claiming her territory.
Claiming her territory,
yes.
Yeah.
Being the infestation. But it's a good, in a good way.
Right, in a good way. We don't need to be concerned. It's kind of like Bakuda, but it's fine.
The idea of bugs knocking you out and disarming you and then using your weapon against you, this was like stealing fire from the gods, right? Like yes. in the thematic sense of like Worm, right?
Yeah.
Like if you, like a normal ass person, are walking down the street and you see like a butterfly with like a gun come by, right? Like you are...
You're like, oh no, something has changed and I don't like it.
Something has gone so wrong. So this like army of little beetles with matches it's like my favorite thing. And
I just thought of something that this could be a metaphor for.
Okay.
Because these bugs versus these people, it's the people versus Leviathan versus the Endbringers, right?
No, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And so I want to see Taylor harness the humans the way she's harnessed the bugs and take down the Endbringers with them.
Interesting. Yeah, well, speaking of harnessing, we do get a lot of her thoughts of the utility of people in this chapter. I mean, well... We should come back to that, because I still want to just talk about
talk about it more. Yes.
The hype moments. The beauty of coming back to the second merchant fight with that little time skip is so good, because we do have a little bit of suspense here, but it's just about like what is going on. You just get the glory of the bugs with matches, and then there's this moment where the woman kicks off her shoe and it's wet, and she kicks it towards the bugs, and then the shoe lights on fire, and you realize, oh, it's wet with gasoline. It's so fun that you can figure it out before it's explained, but I also feel like it sort of makes you complicit in Taylor's plan a little bit, because rather than just having it be spelled out, you get to be like, oh, it's wet with gasoline, which means she spilled gasoline on herself, which means, oh, Taylor's going to set this woman on fire, right? Like before it kind of is said. And I love being brought into those implications. It's just a really nice little bit of writing that I loved. Similarly, Taylor is not there to see it. She's describing what her bugs are doing, and then she thinks to herself, I could imagine it, right? Like the same way that we are, right? She's just like, oh, it's so cool, a sea of bugs with a backing of human intelligence, Yeah,
at some point, one of the merchants shouts something, and she's like, can I hear it? No, the bug hearing doesn't quite work like that.
Yeah.
Which I guess, she doesn't have the connection to the bug brain the way that the Animorphs did, because they could hear things as flies, but...
Though Taylor did, I'll remind you, back in Arc 4, she heard music pretty clearly on the street.
That's
enough
true.
to sort of determine it wasn't in English. So,
so maybe
there
she
are some
can improve
interesting...
in that way,
or
maybe different bugs can do it better.
And she sort of said, like, I could hear it, but I couldn't understand it. So, it's an interesting thing to think about. Yeah, I mean, the other... really hype moment. The last thing that she does with the bugs is she just gathers them all up into one super swarm that ends up being a humanoid figure 12 feet tall that just collapses on a couple of merchants. And I love it. Like, it's so good. This is, again, just like Worm, the animated series. Like, you know, we just need...
Yes.
And like, you know, we'll talk about the other part of it, but it's like Taylor's like making tea or whatever, and then smash cut to a bunch of merchants going, ah! I guess
Taylor's just taking a sip of her tea and being like, oh, it's lukewarm. I better drink it faster.
To be fair, actually, she is using all of her human concentration in this moment. It's not really like she can go about her day.
No,
right?
it's true. She's very
she's
focused
meditating.
on this. And she only does one of the gangs at a time because
Exactly.
I think she needs that focus.
Exactly.
I did also appreciate the degree to which the tea was a metaphor.
Well, yes, let's talk about that motif.
Yeah, it comes up a couple of times. The one where I was really like, oh yeah, okay, this is metaphorical. She says, after group 1 goes down, she says, I finished my tea, then made a face. The tea bag had leaked grit, and some had settled into the bottom of my cup. Bitter. Just like the aftertaste of what she did to these people. Mm-hmm. She doesn't express any regret in her mind, but the metaphor does it for her.
Yeah, well, so I was going to ask, what tastes bitter to her? Literally the tea, yes, but like in the metaphor, what tastes bitter to her about this?
I think it is the thing that she was thinking about, like, why does this feel so familiar, this line of thinking that I need to attack them so badly that they won't want to come back? Oh, this is kind of the kind of thing Bakuda was talking about. Oh, but it's totally different. I'm protecting my people, so that makes this okay. But I do think there's that little bit of unease of like, are the methods I'm using okay? She doesn't have a lot of conscious doubts of it, like I said, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, but the description we get of what the merchants have been doing to people, which Sierra witnessed, really takes the legs out from under any kind of, I feel like, appeal to conscience about how the merchants don't deserve this.
Right. I do think there's a nuance similar to the woman in the Flechette interlude who was like, men like this hurt my daughter. Yeah. Right? There is a question. We have the identity of 3 specific merchants that Skitter can go hunt down. And there's this whole, you know, what did the armband signify, you know, mystery, I guess. But like, there is a question in terms of like, do the crimes of any merchant implicate everyone who's part of the merchant gang? To what extent is there a dynamic like there was with the ABB of people being coerced into it? Right. There's not a lot of textual evidence for nuance. Right. And Taylor, even with these merchants, she's sort of like, oh, you know, they haven't done anything hostile yet, so I'm going to wait. Right.
Right.
Again, going back to that interlude, she is sort of waiting for them to do something wrong before she there's no preemptive strike logic in what she's doing that we see here. But still, there's kind of a question there. But mostly I agree, the merchants are very much acceptable targets.
I do hope they get complicated a little bit at some point. I'd be surprised if they didn't, because I mean, they're not orcs, they're still people. Yeah. And like we got, you know, Pigo's view of like, not surprising that people have been driven to this point. Yeah. So yeah, there will be some nuance, I'm sure, to explore, but this idea of like, okay, yeah, they're coming after her territory. They're trying to scare the people. Makes sense that she would attack them in this way, also to deter other people. Yeah.
Going back to the bitter taste for a second, the other beat of the tea is I sipped my tea and found it was lukewarm. I took big gulps in the hopes of finishing it before it got cold, which I feel like makes me think of her whole perspective on this day. I need to bet $1 million and win, right? The warm tea is like saving Dinah before it's too late. Right.
It's a time-limited opportunity.
So a lot of what she is doing here is motivated by this idea that like she has to be the fastest and best because every second lost really counts, right? Her nightmare at the beginning of this arc is she gets there to save Dinah and she's already dead, right? And it strikes me that we are really into competent Taylor. Yeah. But Taylor is not at all. She gets nothing from her own competence.
That's true.
Like Lisa at the end is like, girl, you are doing better than everyone, sounds like.
And Taylor's like, good, I need to impress Coyle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, this is very much a means to her, not an end.
And there's no sadistic glee that she reflects on.
Yeah.
It's very much like, what will be most effective? I'm going to make this as scary as I can think of. I'm good at thinking of scary things and executing on those plans. But then at the end of it, she's like, bitter. It's like, the fact that she didn't do it yesterday maybe is part of what tastes better. Not that the disquieting reflection on Bakuda thing isn't there, but...
Yeah, I think both things are there. You know what this does make me think of, though? The first time we saw her do this sort of like, I need to scare people to preempt worse things happening was the bank job, which turned out to be a cover for Dinah getting kidnapped.
Yeah.
So just returning to this constant thing that I am thinking about is how many more Dinahs is she inadvertently creating in trying to rescue the original one?
Yeah. Well, should we take that and pivot to our girl Sierra?
Yeah, let's talk about Sierra.
The connective tissue here is Sierra is very reluctant to come with Taylor. And Taylor thinks like Sierra's saying something about like, yeah, I don't know, I'm so tired, and like maybe there are other details that I could remember later. Taylor's like, oh, interesting. So she might think of something later that I could use. And then Sierra's like, well, and I don't know where I'm going to stay. And Taylor's like, oh, no, you're going to come stay with me. Taylor thinks, I knew if she didn't come with me, she'd probably wind up searching for a mediocre to unsatisfactory place. This isn't really negotiable, I told her, just to forestall any excuses. For her part, she didn't argue. When they get to the storm drains, it took some urging to get her to enter the darkness, and I had to grip her hands to lead her into the oppressive black. But, like, it's not like this is a serious kidnapping, right? So, I mean,
no, it's not. She's also an adult, but...
I know. It's really funny to me that the seed gets lodged here of like, oh, Sierra might be useful later.
Yeah.
And then she immediately rationalizes, well, I know what the best outcome here is. I'm going to bring her back to my secret lair. And like, obviously it works out great. And like, I'm not saying that Taylor's going to keep Sierra under her thumb, addicted to tea and cookies.
And also, she's saying maybe she'll think of something later that will help me help her.
Yeah.
Like, this is actually for Sierra. I can see the parallel. It feels really different.
Of course it feels different. It is very funny. It took some urging to get her to enter the darkness. Yeah. This is not negotiable, right?
Okay, so what really pinged for me with this is she's showing Sierra this storm drain entrance. I think that's like, doesn't she have like a front entrance also? Why didn't she just take her in the front entrance so that Sierra doesn't know about her secret entrance?
That's interesting. I think thinking back a couple chapters ago, it's like the front entrance isn't open for business yet. Like, she didn't want to see people coming and going. Like, she doesn't want to reveal the location of her lair. But, like...
Well, she also... Oh, maybe she doesn't want to reveal the location of her lair. I thought she didn't want to reveal herself going in and out of it.
Right, that's right. Because she goes in and out of the storm drain when she goes running. That's right. So, I don't know.
Well, what this is pinging for me, so we learn about her little brother. It does not seem like my theory was immediately correct. Like, it's not like he went off to join the merchants.
Yeah.
It is, I guess it's possible that he was secretly a member of the merchants. It doesn't seem like a real stealth operation. But, like, he had already connected with the merchants, and that's how the merchants knew to attack that place. Like,
interesting.
Feels a little bit like a stretch.
I mean, there's a mystery of why was he the only one who left.
So maybe that's why. Maybe they did just take him with them, and maybe he is now a member of the merchants. Because, he was kidnapped by them, and they're like, no, kid, this is really cool, and everything else sucks, and like, look what you can do, and they, And if Taylor rescues him and brings him back, and it's like, I don't think Sierra is super likely to betray her, but like, Sierra's brother could definitely betray the secret entrance to her lair, and it doesn't seem like she has a lot of... defenses already up except for the creepy bugs, etc. So.
I could also imagine a sort of moment a few chapters from now where she thinks, Oh, and what to do about Sierra? Oh, she knows about the secret entrance. And that could be like a complication.
Yeah, yeah.
On the other hand, Taylor is cautious not to let Sierra know about the third floor.
That's true.
She does skitter upstairs as soon as they get back to the lair to...
She Taylors upstairs.
That's right. Talk about... There's so many funny inside Taylor versus outside Skitter moments in this conversation. But one of my favorites is they get back to the lair and like... Skitter's a terrifying, imposing, stoic figure. She gets back to her lair, and then she just runs. She takes off running, bounds upstairs 2 at a time, completely disappears, leaving Sierra alone in, the kitchen area. And you hear a thump, thump, thump from upstairs. And then, thump, 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 she comes back down and is like, hey, I'm making tea. Very funny.
Yeah, and then Sierra's like, wait, this seems really domestic. You can tell, Taylor says at one point, she's like, I don't really know how to talk to her as Skitter. Bad enough at it as Taylor, but she's used to people treating her a certain way as Taylor, and people react to her completely differently as Skitter.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really know how to handle that. I'm sure it is not clear how young she is.
No.
As Skitter. She's a normal height. She's kind of skinny, but that doesn't necessarily mean she's a teenager.
Yeah, I think even she's on the tall side. Yeah.
Oh, maybe she is. Yeah. Yeah, she's like a 15-year-old girl with a mask on, no one can tell.
Yeah. And if she mostly speaks in her bug voice.
Right. It seems like she's now speaking normally to Sierra, but I don't know how much you can tell a 15-year-old, because I don't know, women's voices don't change the way men's do quite as dramatically.
Yeah, that little paragraph where she's like, I don't know what I'm doing. My note was that she's being Flailor.
Oh, that would be a great title for this episode, except for the vast majority of the chapter in which she's anything but a Flailor.
I know. Well, it's the amazing thing about our protagonist.
Most of this chapter, she's being a Slaylor.
Yes. Slaylor Flailor. What else about Sierra? What do you make of Sierra? Do you have any feelings about her or other thoughts?
Yeah, for a large portion of it, she's a stand-in for how a normal person would view Skitter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but she has this story which strikes me as very representative of what's going on with people now.
Yeah.
When she got to the toxic mold, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
This whole city is going to have a major mold problem. And I don't think Taylor can control mold, so...
It's so awful. The description of her uncle dying and the mold and everything, it's this
her parents are still in the hospital.
It's this very mundane horror.
Yes.
And it really connects...
I'm I gotta remember to go, reapply the sealant in our shower soon.
No, I don't 100%,
want this.
100%. And the thing that I love about Sierra is, narratively, she is coming to Taylor in kind of a damsel in distress type of way of oh, I need help, you know, I can't do anything and I need you to save me, hero. But when we hear about her story, she has a lot of agency and is doing so much to help her family, help her community. She talks about volunteering in the construction crews and volunteering at the shelters. She's getting her family a new place to live. She's looking out for her brother. She's doing, when the merchants show up, she tries to fight them with a fire extinguisher, right? She's trying everything, but the reality is she doesn't have a superpower and she is not up to the task of dealing with superpowered problems.
I loved when she showed up at the lair and she's like, oh, you have power. Electricity.
That was, oh my God. Mwah. Brilliant.
Beautiful.
Brilliant device.
Yeah, but it is it's a superpowered people's game.
Yeah.
It's a cape game.
So yeah, I really liked realizing that she, despite needing help, as everyone does, is somebody who has,
she's not just a damsel in distress.
Been as much of a fighter as Taylor is.
Yeah, and she also has a lot of anger towards these merchants.
Yeah, that was the other big beat.
It really sounds like the ones who attacked her absolutely deserve it.
Yeah. The lovely thing about that speech is she's going into detail about the injury and says to Taylor, "You understand?" Taylor says, "I think so. Not that I wanted to," about sort of how bad the injury was and how horrible that was, right? Like that, I think, is what Taylor's thinking about. And then Sierra says, "No, not about what they did. I mean, do you understand what I'm saying about these assholes?" And then she goes on to give her whole speech about like, "I'm a good person, but I want to see you hurt them." Right?
Yeah.
And she's like, "I don't know anything."
How much capsaicin can you put on those bugs?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
She doesn't know about any of that.
She's like, "I don't know anything about you, but like, it should mean something special that I want you to do worse to them than they deserve." And then another beautiful piece of writing in the chapter. Taylor, this is when Taylor is Flailor. She's like, "I don't know how to respond to this."
Yeah.
I put a hand on her shoulder, and she flinched. I left the hand there, and I measured out my words. "Trust me when I say I have that handled." She looked at me, and I gave her a small nod. "God," she muttered. It is so good. Taylor is being so practical and clear. And Sierra can't take it any other way than like seeing it as like a supervillain, being
terrifying.
Like, of course she's sadistic and evil and is going to hurt them more than they deserve, right? Like Sierra has no reason to think that Taylor is not that person. So she's like, "I need you to hurt them." And Skitter just like casually reaches over. It's like, "Oh yeah, I got that under control." Like, yeah, 2 thumbs up, no problem.
The inside incredible. Taylor versus outside Taylor is such a great running theme. We get Sierra saying like, "I was in college. I kind of saw something in the papers about the bank robbery. Yeah. I don't really know anything about you except that." And like,
people know Skitter exists, but she doesn't really have a rep among normals.
Right. But you have to imagine that Sierra wouldn't have given the same talk if she'd actually gotten to talk to Battery. She wouldn't have said, "I need you to hurt them however much you think they deserve 3 times that." This is what she can say because she thinks that Taylor is a morally bankrupt supervillain, and therefore she can just be as bloodthirsty as she wants to her.
That is a really fun parallel to the Flechette chapter again, when the woman comes back at those sort of proto-merchants or whoever, that gang of guys, and Flechette is like, "No, like they're restrained. You can't hit them in the head with a metal tray." And Shadowstalker's like, "I don't know, let her do it," right? And so that very intuitive sense of morality that normal people in Worm have in terms of like, it's like, of course we prefer that the heroes be in charge, but sometimes you go to a Skitter, you go to a Shadowstalker that feels good and righteous to people in a way that is just very human, right? It's like after what this merchant did, cutting this guy open, hurting him for life. It's like, whatever Skitter can come up with that brain and those bugs of hers, do it.
Yeah. And that if Skitter does end up hurting them, it won't be from a place of that strong emotionality. It will be like, well, I need to hurt them this badly because XYZ practical reason. Yeah. Because it's not that she can't react out of that kind of like intense emotion, but like she's not naturally sadistic, really. Like we saw in this chapter, like she's like, "No, I have reasons and I need to take them all out. Okay, great, I did it." Yeah. And she doesn't have the personal stake in this situation. So unlike Shadowstalker, who seems to just be like, "I need to beat some people up for my own personal reasons."
Yeah.
Like,
Vista was mean to me, so I'm going to go get into a fist fight.
We haven't really seen much of Taylor trying to displace that kind of emotion.
The closest we got was the Arc 5 fight against the ABB after the scene in the principal's office. Because that's when she leaves the school after being so powerless in the face of her bullies and the principal, and calls Lisa and is like, "I'm going to beat someone up."
But still, when she cuts out Loon's eyes, at least the way she perceives it inside herself is like, this is what I need to do for practical reasons. Yeah. He shouldn't be on the streets, and I have a way to potentially stop that. Yeah. Yeah, if Shadowstalker had done that, it wouldn't have been for the same motivations. Right. So it'll be interesting to see how much, if Taylor gets a chance to hurt these guys, how much does she do it, and what are the reasons that she tells herself? Right.
But I think the point I was getting at was the social role piece of it. It's like, when do you go
Yes.
to Battery or Flechette? And when do you go to Skitter or Shadowstalker with your problem?
Because Skitter doesn't have... I was thinking, like, you know, she's comparing herself to Bakuda here, and she's doing this to get into Coil's good books, but also what she's doing for the people in this territory is the kind of thing she wants to be doing. What she's doing in stopping the merchants is the kind of thing she wants to be doing.
Yeah.
But she doesn't have the code that heroes have to stick to, and she doesn't have the PR problem of can't be seen doing anything too shady.
Yeah.
She just sort of has the freedom to follow what she thinks is right in any given situation.
Yeah.
You can see why this really appeals to her as a role.
Well, this is also funny because I think it actually sheds light on Sierra in this chapter in two moments. First, right at the beginning when Taylor says, yeah, I'll help. Sierra's like, huh? And then Taylor thinks like, oh yeah, should I have asked for something in return? Right. And that's a social role mismatch because you don't go to a villain expecting them to help you for free, right? So Sierra is probably expecting some kind of ask, right? And this is a moment when Sierra's like, that's not what villains do, right? Like, they don't just say, that's what Battery would have said. Like, this is weird.
Although I do feel like Taylor just said, I'll protect all the people in my territory. But she also said stuff like, you'll get nicer stuff if you work for me. So she probably should have said, like, sure, but I need this kind of service from you.
And I mean, like, a non-Taylor Skitter could have been like, is he in my territory now? No. You know, like, you know... Right? If you get him into my territory, I'll protect him, right? Like, there's no reason to expect.
That's true.
I mean, you know, but we don't know. But the other piece of it that I was wondering about is Taylor has several beats of, like, why is she rambling? Like, where is she going with this? And part of that is, like, funny. Part of it is Taylor being awkward. Part of it is Sierra has been up all night looking for her brother Bryce. But I actually think that part of what Taylor doesn't realize is that Sierra is hyping herself up to make this ask.
Yeah.
And the weird speech about, I'm a pacifist, but I want you to hurt them, it now feels to me, having talked through this, that I think that Sierra preferred to go to Skitter than Battery. Mm-hmm. I think that she saw what Skitter did to the guy with the knife and started thinking to herself, I wish that would happen to those other merchants.
So when she's like, Battery just left so fast.
Right. That's just a little bit of rationalizing and just she's not comfortable with the desire to ask a villain for righteous vengeance. And the reason why she goes on this long ramble explaining, like, she's like, I just need you to really understand I'm a good person and likable before I ask you to go ahead with the ultraviolence.
Yes.
So I think that's where Sierra's coming from in this chapter. And obviously Taylor doesn't see it. She's like, get to the point. Like, just, you know, if you lay this out in like a strong 5 bullet points, then I'll know how to execute on the plan. Like, I'm already locked in. I don't care whether you're a good person or not.
Oh man. Taylor's dual identity, where she, like, is operating as a supervillain and in many ways wants to operate as a supervillain does, but still has this hero side of her, these heroic impulses. Like, she doesn't want to be subject to the authorities that heroes have to answer to, but she does want to save people. She wants to be a hero in the sort of broader sense of the term.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is this tension, and it really confuses people like Sarah. Because, you know, she brings Sierra into her headquarters. She's like, now we can be friends. Like, when I was with the Undersider. Like, she's not really thinking that, but, like, she's definitely, like, trying to connect to this woman.
No, my thought was... she makes her tea on a tray with like cookies and a little side thing of milk and sugar and brings it to her. That's like how she cooks for Danny sometimes, right? Like, I feel like this is, it's like found family. It's like literal, like I found this family, right? Like, go sleep in the bed and I'll make you tea, right? You know, I mean, and also just the way that she has now latched on to these anonymous souls in her territory as like, well, these are mine. It's like a very mama bear, like...
I'm going to serve them and protect them.
Yeah. So...
she's very pro-social in her villainy.
Yeah, exactly. It's so sweet. It's so considerate of her. And I also...
And then she's like, oh, she's asleep. I'll just leave the tray here.
I am, of course, being unfair to Taylor with the serious kidnapping joke. Because Sierra, for her part, she's not so far gone that she wouldn't be able to keep herself awake if she needed to make a break for it. Right?
No, but she's like,
she correctly assesses that she is safe and she falls asleep immediately. And it is so sweet. The awkward speech Taylor gives... Right, it's strangely domestic for a villain, and she's like, "Well, I mean, no, it's fine. I'm not offended. Of course, I'm a villain, but I'm also a person under this mask. I drink tea."
So funny. Like, she's not supposed to let that on to the masses, but she's like, "Oh, this person asked me for help. I will immediately
I don't like sour
lower my
food,
mask in a metaphorical sense." Yeah,
and then she kind of pivots to like. But, you're someone I'm protecting, right? She sort of has a little bit, like, she doesn't go as far as being like, but I'm a good person and I want a friend. She's like, but I'm protecting you and this is how I do it. It's really, yeah. I do wonder what Sierra sees in Skitter Taylor at that moment.
She's like, this is weird.
Yeah.
Who is this person? What kind of villain is this? Should we talk about the Undersiders at the end?
Of course. We get a little phone call with Lisa.
Yeah. So it does seem like Taylor is ahead of the game here.
Of course.
Which makes sense. I mean, Bitch is the only other person who has, like, Taylor's level of offensive power.
So
like,
true.
who could control the masses. And Bitch is still working with, not fully trained dogs. And even the dogs aren't as well equipped to control a territory as the bugs are, where Taylor can have as many of them as she wants, and she has perfect control, and they feed her sensory information. Like, she, out of all the Undersiders, is, like, ideally positioned to control things. Seems like, Gru and Imp are kind of doing okay, but, like, they are having trouble with merchants hiding their territories. We don't get any information about any of the others. But Lisa is still doing research and helping Gru and hasn't really made a move on her territory yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, Taylor's idea of, like, we were all doing the same thing today. It's clearly not a, like... They all made an announcement. Like, Lisa's still in total stealth mode here.
Right. Maybe they were all like, okay, we're going to try to take over our territories. And Taylor's like, I'm going to go huge the first morning. And everyone else is like, we'll take it slow.
Yeah, it's like, oh, so how did everybody like chapter 1? And Taylor's like, oh, I finished the book. Yeah.
I'm already writing a sequel. Yeah.
Not like that. But yeah. The dynamic between Lisa and Taylor is interesting. Mm-hmm. Taylor says, I want to be in Coyle's good books. Lisa says, I want you to be too. I'm here to help you if you need it.
Yeah.
But Taylor's reluctant to go out with her. Yeah. And Lisa's very pushy. You have no good reason to refuse. Come on.
Right. That was strong. Peer pressure.
Yeah. So any thoughts on kind of the dynamic? It's just them being them. I mean, like, what's Taylor's reluctance here? Is it because... of her territory. I mean,
it is plausible that she wouldn't want to leave her territory, but it was kind of a strong ask from Lisa. I'm not really sure. The thing where she says, like, I want you to be in Coyle's good books too, it's a little like, okay, I'm still hoping there's a secret plan, but if the plan is just get in Coyle's good books and get him to give up Dinah, it does seem like Lisa has told Taylor that she's fully on board with this plan. But it seems like she's sort of the silent partner.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like she's going to Coyle and saying, actually, this is what I want to.
Yeah.
And she's maybe possibly easing her own conscience by being like, well, I'm helping Taylor free Dinah. But she's not really doing it in her own right. Like, she's not actually going as far as she could in trying to get Dinah free. So, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of her allyship there.
Yeah. It does feel a little bit like, in this moment, Taylor is okay being separate, being on her own, proving herself, having her territory, and Lisa's the one who's, like, striving for connection.
True. Well, also, Lisa wants to go to this merchants thing tonight. She'll be so much better off if she has someone with an offensive power next to her.
Of course. That's so true. But I was wondering if this is more compatible with the really sad circumstance where...
she needs friends.
Well, not just that, but that maybe part of how
Right.
was a little bit of Lisa talked Taylor down from a grand scheme.
Right.
And as a result, Taylor is low-key resentful, right? Sort of like, but we could have been doing more faster. And Lisa's like, no, take it slow, like that's unrealistic, right? And this could be Lisa trying to
make it up to her a little bit.
Repair something from that interaction that we haven't seen. So I'm really curious. We just get such scant insight into those lost 3 weeks between them. So I'm really curious to see what else comes up. The thing that really jumped out to me is like, you're telling me that either Gru or Skitter would be okay with Imp being left in charge of their entire territory? Like, that
does seem far-fetched. I was kind of wondering about that. I was like, how could Imp do that?
Imagine Sierra waking up next to either of them.
Ooh, yeah. Very different reactions, I think.
Yeah. Like, Imp, that's like full haunted house. And then, like, I feel like Gru is, again, the whole thing of, like, creepy skull man.
Terrifying, but now it's like a large man instead of a small girl.
But he's going to be exactly as domestic as Taylor. He's going to be like, well, I didn't know your dietary preferences, so I made hot dogs and I made a salad. And I'm like, oh, here's a gluten-free bun. Right? It's like,
I noticed there's a really comfortable chair upstairs.
Right. And like the darkness is boiling around him because of how nervous he is around,
So we'll see. This party the merchants are having seems like a real bad scene. I think we're going to see some grim stuff.
Yeah.
I do think it's plausible that Taylor's territory will be okay while she's gone. But I'm always worried about, this was such an up chapter. Are we going to get a down chapter? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just that the merchants are awful and it's frustrating. But I'm always afraid of losing what we've gained.
I know.
My major prediction going forward with this particular scenario is that Bryce is going to be a real problem.
Yeah, that feels like a really fun complication.
Yeah, victim turned problem. And I also am looking forward to, I hope we get to find out more about the leaders of the merchants at this quote-unquote party.
Right.
And I think
we haven't seen any powered merchants.
Right. Well, we know that there were, right.
Yeah, the meeting. But they were like such small potatoes, and now they're like one of the toughest gangs in the city.
I do think, powered or not, we're going to meet the de facto powers behind the merchants, and that will give us, some people to engage with, oppose, look out for. Yeah.
There were some fun oddies moments, like 2011 moments in this chapter that I really enjoyed. One is the merchant who spills gas on herself is struggling to get her jeans on because they're skinny jeans. I was like, skinny jeans destroyed by bugs. Like, let's go, Taylor. This isn't really era specific, but when Taylor looks at the picture of Bryce, this is like classic judgy Taylor. It's like, his haircut's bad. Boys don't know what to do with their hair.
I highlighted that.
Ignore the sides and back. Just focus on the parts he can see. And I was like, oh my God, I know all of these boys from college. Yeah, it was me. And Lisa calls Taylor Boardwalk Empress.
Yes.
Which
I loved that.
Is a contemporary, 2010, 2011 HBO series, Boardwalk Empire. It was based on a book, so Lisa could be referring to the 2002 book, Boardwalk Empire. But maybe it's a phrase that goes back further than that. I mean, Possibly. She does like her old-timey
That's
vibe.
True.
Right. But I think that this is an example of Earth Aleph media, bleeding through. Or maybe I can just imagine Steve Buscemi making the same HBO show in a world with capes. Like, that would be cool too. I mean, why not? Still probably had the same kind of history. Maybe Boardwalk Empire in this world is about Brockton Bay instead of Atlantic City.
Incredible.
Yeah, I feel like I have a couple more thoughts sort of about her power. When she wants more power, she's like framing it as a craving, right? And it's like, again, she's so effective, but she's like, but I just need a little bit
she's
more.
Like, I want that power up.
This is very fault line, trying to figure out how she can break the Manton effect, right? Like, it's like, I just need a little bit more. Like, think of all the things I could do with a little bit more power.
There's never enough power.
And the bugs that she's putting on people, it's clear that, at least for now, there is no privacy. And she talks specifically about how she places them so surreptitiously. So, like, it's not going to bother anybody that Skitter is monitoring them all the time. She even puts bugs on Sierra while she sleeps, because that's the only way she feels comfortable taking her mask off.
Yeah, but she's like, I put them places it won't bother them. It'll be fine.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about her self-comparison to Bakuda. It is really funny that the thing that she comes down on is like, well, you know, I want to protect my people, and Bakuda was only interested in herself. Like, that's like the big moral distinction. You know, like it's...
And Bakuda was in fact covering for someone else, but sure.
No, but it's just sort of like, it's kind of like, oh, well, you know, it's like, it's pretty convenient. It's just pretty convenient that she is like, oh, but look at these people that I just started protecting. Like,
I totally know them all on a personal level.
I gave them supplies this morning, and that means it's okay, right? Like... To me, this is much more a matter of convenience than sort of like thinking through the moral principles here. We haven't talked about new coil guy, Herman Drives. The driver here, where Skitter comes up to him, knocks on the door, and is like, hey, I'm good. I need more boxes today. Like, no matter what, I need 7 more. You got to make sure I get those boxes. Also... in case, you know, if Coil's open to giving you guys a raise, tell him I suggested it.
So he's going to come back and be like, Skitter said we did a good job and should get a bonus.
Yeah. Herman Drives is not doing that. No, he is not relaying that. It is so funny. Like, middle manager Skitter is the craziest inside-outside Skitter of all time.
You tell my boss to give you some more money.
I mean,
I don't know if he does that, but if he does.
She's never had, like, an office job.
No, that's fair.
This is not how it works. Yeah, so I know it's my skip level, but the manager who's not here said, you should give me a raise. You know, and I guess some of the other morality beats, right? She's sort of eye for an eye, like, well, you brought this gas can, you were going to burn down stuff, so it's okay if I burn down you, right? Like, I'm not going to stop you from putting yourself out, but I'm not going to lose sleep over burning you.
Right, she's drawing some lines. They're questionable.
And then she texts Coil, you should help this burn victim, you know, like, or she says, send medic, ? So it's like, it's pretty open-ended. But then she thinks again, no use having the woman die from any complications from her injuries. Besides, maybe he could get her to offer up information in exchange for her freedom. It is fascinating to me, this framing of like, not like, oh, well, you know, she's a person who's hurt and she's not a threat, so we should give her medical attention. Mm-hmm. Her little rationalization engine has been like, I want to help her, so I'm thinking of a use for her, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's no use in letting her just go unattended. Because she doesn't expect
Coil to be like, oh, she's a human who needs medical aid.
But I think even for herself, it's this desire to find a use, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's again with the having a use for Sierra and wanting to kind of like keep her in her pocket. Like, oh, you're going to come with me now. And even what you were saying about your big Taylor versus the Endbringers theory of like finding a good use for people.
Yes. Yeah, she's so practical. So practical, sometimes she doesn't realize how much of a villain she looks like, even when she's trying to be one for practical purposes.
Oh, the last thing that was an Audie's thing. These merchants' wristbands. Do you remember those like gel bracelets that people wore? And then there was the whole like moral panic about them. That they were like sex bracelets.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Is this whole thing of like, oh, like the colors are like the different sex things that you do, and you can trade them, or like you break them, and that's if you're strong enough to break my bracelet, then I'll, you know, give you a blowjob or whatever it is.
Wow, I don't think I knew any of these details. I also really remember them as like you would get one for like whatever disease you like had a family member with and were like raising money for. Yes.
That's like the Live Strong. Yeah. That whole era. But yeah, there was this I associate with, you know, like 2004, 2005 more was this like gel bracelet moral panic. And I remember like I had friends, you know, like I was friends with the more alt kids who like would wear, you know, like piercings, would wear emo or goth clothes, and they had all the like the bracelets and stuff. And I remember having this like, wait, is that like sex thing that I heard about real? And then like be like, no, this is clearly a weird thing that like adults are making up.
Yes, yeah, like the lipstick party kind of thing.
Like a lipstick party thing. Yeah. And I mean there's the hanky code. I was just thinking from the 70s. Like that's like a real. That's sort of like the real origin of it all. But to me, this like Boy Scout badges thing just suddenly put me back. Yeah. Like, oh my God, they're like the gel bracelets. We'll see if that's what it ends up being. I think that's all I got. You want to hear a first sentence?
Yes.
Coyle had put Bitch's hideout in an area.
Well, that makes sense that he would have put it in an area.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole chapter. It's going to be a short episode.
I'm glad. Okay, so it sounds like maybe they're going to visit Bitch's hideout?
It sure sounds like it.
That'll
probably go well.
It's gonna, yeah. Are they gonna go to a party with her? Because I think she's really mad at Taylor. So
I'd love to read a chapter where Taylor and her besties go to a party.
Yes, this is gonna be great. The girls go partying.
Yeah,
that's this chapter.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Next time
on Inchworm. Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae. You can read Worm at parahumans.wordpress.com and support the author at patreon.com/wildvote. Follow us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Inchworm Podcast, or find our Discord link and any other updates on inchwormpodcast.com.